Have you ever noticed that when you help a friend find some romance, it can be bittersweet for everyone involved? Well, that's what the Loud Pets found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. Cue the intro! Today's episode is Lovebirds. In this episode, the Loud Pets help Walt find some romance, and he finally finds the bird of his dreams. This episode pretty much follows the same layout as Pets Peeve from Season 2. The pets are the main stars where they display more human-like characteristics, especially in the case of Walt growing a beard at one point, and they move the story along through their actions and animal sounds because they can't exchange any real dialogue of their own. So basically, it's another Tom and Jerry style episode, and that's heavily reinforced by the fact the human characters have very little effect on the plot. The most puzzling aspect about the humans in this episode would be how all their faces are hidden, unlike Pets Peeve where they were only hidden for a few seconds in the beginning. I'm really not sure what the point was of covering their faces from start to finish when there was no problem with the way they were depicted in Pets Peeved, but I'm not going to harp on this any more than I have to. Anyway, the story is very basic with Charles, Cliff, and Geo wanting to find Walt a girlfriend, and each time they consider having him befriend a bird one of the kids just so happens to be interacting with, they think the worst case scenario. They eventually find a duck and she and Walt hit it off. However, they have to break it off because of duck migration season, but the pets come up with an idea for them to still be together without anyone having to leave Royal Woods. They turn the doghouse into a miniature version of paradise and everyone appears to have gotten what they wanted. Unfortunately, the duck starts missing her family and she and Walt decide they really do have to break it off. The exact same scenario happens again when the pet suggests Walt travel down to Florida. Everyone looks like they were able to get what they wanted, but Walt begins to miss his family and he flies back home. The episode ends with Walt getting a postcard from the duck saying they'll see each other again in the spring. Even though we don't get a time lapse and see the two birds reuniting by the end of migration season, the final shot of Walt lovingly embracing that duck feather was just, well, quite adorable in its own animal-like way. And actually, this ties into my biggest positive of the episode. Despite the feelings I have about the pets acting more human than they normally should, I still give credit for how they were presented. In fact, I would say their performances here were a lot better than their roles in Pets Peeved. Unlike the latter, where they were all written with the same vindictive mindset to kick what would have been a new family member out of the house, the former features them with a more positive mindset. They act more like one big loving family by trying to help Walt look more presentable, and they definitely had their moments. Speaking of moments, Walt, in my opinion, had the best out of everyone. Truly believing Mr. Grouse's lawn flamingo was real and then looking stupid for falling in love with it was pretty funny. Plus, him acting like a hopeless romantic was worth a few innocent laughs. That really says a lot because most of the time he's usually depicted looking mad, so to see him displaying a wide variety of emotions is a very nice change of pace. Overall, this episode was simply the animal version of the typical matchmaker storyline, and it's honestly not as bad as I once remembered. Granted, it's an episode I place in the same area as Pets Peeved, not very high on my ranking list in terms of being memorable, and the plot isn't all too engaging either. However, it's still an okay episode, and it's slightly more interesting than Pets Peeved. The pets all had their moments, the comedy was as good as it could get for animals being the central characters, and if you're a fan of Tom and Jerry, you'll definitely appreciate how the story plays out. I still question why all the humans needed to have the hidden face treatment like Rita and Lynn Sr. had back in Season 1, but once you look past that, you'll still enjoy this episode for what it's worth. With that said, I give Lovebirds a 7.5 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Lovebirds. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.